think we started putting Kill List together almost immediately after Down Terrace had wrapped, probably. I mean, I think I was editing with Rob Hill Down Terrace, but I was also writing at the same time, and I really felt, I could feel that there was a pressure that if we didn't, we were about to have a load of meetings, and they could be meetings like where we meet production companies and financiers, where we go, oh hi, how you doing? Oh, you made a film, did you? Yeah. What do you want to do now? I don't know, you know, and we wanted to be able to just go, this is the script that we want to do. So we put together a slate almost of like 3 or 4 ideas. Some were treatments and some were finished scripts. So that, and then when we had the meeting with Warp, we presented that, and it went from there. When we're writing, it's usually pretty stormy, but when we're editing, it's usually pretty cool and fine. So I'm kind of, we've been together since we were 16, so, and we've been doing a lot of, always written together, so I'm kind of used to it now, and she's used to me. So, but it still doesn't, you know, it's still pretty heavy usually when we do it, but you know, I don't take it too seriously as I did maybe years ago. I wanted a tale that would twist and turn and keep people on their toes, really, and that they couldn't take anything for granted, and so they'd have to think about what they were watching rather than let it just wash over them. And sometimes people find that a bit irritating, that they're asked to think, but I think thinking is, you know, quite a good thing and should be encouraged. It depends on your definition of shock. If it's kind of, I wanted to kind of sensationally kind of shove it in people's faces, not really. But if you mean shock as in that they to depict violence in a realistic way that could not be laughed off or seen as glib, then yes. And I wanted it to give the viewers a kind of have a physiological reaction to it and feel fear, you know. And I just think that it's a kind of a dangerous game to show violence in a manner that isn't realistic, that you might get away with it, and in that context anyway. So I didn't want to glamorise those characters. I wanted to show there's a kind of game going on where you by that point in the movie you really like the characters, and then you're presented with what they do. And that's really really horrific, and it has to be horrific. And it's just also poking at this idea that hitmen are like folk heroes, and they're kind of I mean, loads of films, and it's acceptable what they do. It's almost like they're, you know, Robin Hood or something like that. But they're not. They're people who get money for murder people, and you know, in my moral universe, that's bad. It not always followed by that. I mean, the hammer thing is quite a long way off before there's something that's amusing. But I think it's like a pressure thing on it, so that it releases some of the tension from the audience, because I think you can't go on. You need to go up and then down and then back up again. You can't, once you hit a peak, you can't maintain it for the rest of the movie, because then you're in this situation where you have to do more and more horrible things. They're even more horrible than the thing you've just seen. Otherwise, people aren't upset by it anymore. And I don't think you could do that with that hammer thing without, you know. So I think also the humour in it is a coping mechanism for the characters as much as anything. So they're going through it in the same way that, you know, you in the audience you'd hear people gasp, but some people laugh as well at the really violence. They go, oh God, you know, and that's the way people deal with extreme situations like that, I think. Well, I'd worked with Mayanna on a BBC 3 sketch show called The Wrong Door, and she was she had a few amazing qualities, and one of them was that obviously performance-wise she was very committed, and it was, you know, her performance was fantastic, and just like turning it on and off, she was brilliant. And then the other thing was she was really, really nice and really easy to deal with and really enthusiastic, and I immediately went, God, yeah, I really want to work with you again. but I didn't know she'd been in any of the movies at that point because The Descent had been out. I didn't know anything about that. So later I'd IMDb her and went, oh my God, she's been in all this stuff. That's really crazy. And then when we were putting this together, it kind of made sense that she was kind of a representative of horror films and Neil was a representative of kind of crime films from all the movies he'd been in. And it felt like in that casting that it was like a marriage of those two genres together. They were always, there wasn't any other people we thought about for that. I mean, the way the script came together was thinking about how I could work with those people, how I'd work with Michael and how I'd work with Neil and how I'd work with Mianna and Emma Fryer as well and Ben Crompton and all these people and Mark Kempner and Gareth Tunley. So they were all in it, they were all in the picture from the start, and then you just find places for them to fit. And I think that I'll always kind of try and do that unless there's no roles that the people are obvious for, then we can't. You know, I think on Sightseers, which is the next film we're doing, I'm finding it very hard to find any spaces for like Neil and Mianna, but they'll be in I'm Acrobain, which is the film after that. So.